Greetings to everyone tuning in. We are thrilled to present the 11th installment of our series of talks and discussions centered on augmentative and alternative communication and its profound influence on the lives of individuals and families. Thank you for joining us. My name is Abhishek Kushi Philip, and I'm a senior speech therapist.
And I'm Sarah Abraham, and both of us are speech therapists working here at PlayStreet. PlayStreet is an organization that provides educational services to help children with special needs become independent and live up to his or her potential. We also offer various parent empowerment programs, an integrated schooling program, and a variety of clinical services.
In recognition of Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month, we would like to center our discussions around augmentative and alternative communication. Our goal is to emphasize the significance of AAC, address the challenges associated with it, and promote greater awareness of this essential aspect of autism advocacy.
As Abhishek has already mentioned, this today marks the 11th talk in our series. And I think we are more thrilled as professionals to have a panel discussion. And we've got parents from diverse backgrounds who are all accompanying. And I think they are the voice of empowerment that we have. And we have all of them here. So we're going to take some time to just hear their experiences and insights on this topic and how they have gone about it and how they are going on about this journey.
So I would like to take this time to introduce to you our esteemed panelist. We have Ms. Akila Vaidyanathan. She is the founder, director of the Amaze Charitable Trust, an NGO focused on helping families navigate the disability maze through skill training programs and capacity building. She has also spoken at various symposiums and conferences on inclusion and disability. She has been an amazing facilitator and counselor for many workshops and training programs in the area of disability education and management across the country. She has many accolades on her name, such as the Exceptional Woman Award for Excellence and many more. But the crown on top is she's the mother of Mr. Nishant, who has autism, who is currently working as an intern at Amaze.
Next up, we have the lovely Miss Smrithy Rajesh. She is a special educator and holds a postgraduate degree in psychology. And most importantly, like she mentioned, she is the mother to Advait, her son who is autistic and is nonverbal, and she has been his therapist for the longest time. She's been working in the field for the last 11 years, and she's assisting other children and families to use AAC based on her own experiences. Her talks have always centered around how to make communication more effective, and she's worked with her own son, reducing his anxiety levels and making it easier for him in an external environment. I've seen her posts, I've seen how active she is on social media, sharing her journey, her success and ideas with other parents, and we are so grateful that you've taken time to join us, ma'am, today.
So we also have the lovely Ms. Neha Kulkarni, who is mama to Mr. Navneet and has been his guide into helping him find his voice and believes that he is more than able. She is a passionate mom who is an avid parent, advocate, and blogger who takes pride in supporting other parents. She is also a homemaker, and she loves to give a unique perspective and understanding of the challenges that come with raising children. Neha is passionate about sharing her experiences and insight to help other parents navigate the ups and downs of parenting.
And last but not the least, we have one of our very own, Ms. Anuja Anup Kumar, and she's an engineer by education who's currently a homemaker and a mother of two. And she primarily works with her autistic son, Tatvik, who is non-speaking, and she helps him use his AAC device independently. And they've had a long association with PlayStreet. So we are more than overjoyed to have you here with us. And she's attended various training programs, and she's helping Tatvik. And we've had Tatvik last year also for our Autism Hour Summit. And it was truly a delight to see him come up and, share his thoughts. So we are so grateful that you've taken time, even though in a different country, you've taken time. So thank you so much also for joining us today.
We want to take this time to welcome all of you to this panel discussion and also thank you for taking time off your busy schedules to come here together to be able to bring together your perspectives and stories from your journey to help our viewers. If any of you would like to say a few words before we begin.
So it's a real pleasure to be here, especially with all these wonderful moms. I have not met Anuja before, so I'll get to know more of her. But the Smrithy and Neha, I know. So I think, yeah, excited about this uh, conversation we're going to have, and hopefully it'll reach more parents across India and the world.
Great, great, ma'am.
All right. I think we will jump right off into the discussion. And I think we're going to direct each of our questions to each of you. But also, along with that, if you do have other perspectives, please feel free to join in and add in. So, we're going to start off with, and I think I'm going to point out the first question to Ms. Akila. And we just want to ask you, what motivated you to explore AAC for your child? And what were some of the challenges that you were hoping to address when you started using the AAC?
So, Nishant is 27 years old today. So, this is a really long journey that started almost more than 20 years ago. When he was around 6 or 7, is when I felt the need for AAC, because he was this child who was very bright, very active, but he had, regressed. He had lost his, speech. He was speaking till age 2, and he had all the right things in place. He was taking early intervention, speech therapy, occupational therapy. He was going to a wonderful preschool. I had quit my job. I trained myself right from when he was 3 years old, working alongside, but still we were missing something. There was a missing link or a missing piece, and that was communication. So I felt that that was something that was not being looked into, and I researched and I found out they were using this picture exchange communication system, which was not very well known at that time or practiced in India. So I just ordered the manual, and being from a software background, I read manuals pretty easily. So I implemented it like a project, and lo and behold, in 6 weeks, he was communicating. He was bringing cards to say he wanted water or he wanted chocolate or whatever his needs. It was like a transformation in 6 weeks. And that was the first thing that gave me confidence that I could do something on his own, on my own. I'd been a like a co-therapist, a regulator, just following instructions till then. So it gave me also empowered me besides empowering him with communication. And so then I started working on other things like how to get his typing in place. That was a long journey. He started typing only independently, I would say only by the age of 13. So we had to learn different techniques. I learned the rapid prompt method. I started using software like Clicker. So there was a lot of things that we did because when you ask me what inspired me or what triggered it, it was Nishant. His need. He was very clear with what he wanted, but I felt it was important to give him a mode to express himself. So so the journey you know goes on. It goes on because then there was the advent of things like in between we used a voca device. I don't know if anybody uses that anymore. It was a voice output communication aid. So it was like a PEX communication file, but then it would have a voice output. And then there was this advent of tablet computer tabs, and one could have everything on one device. So and then Avaz came in, and so it was I could transfer whatever was on his communication book to Avaz. So we are learning things all the time, even as we go now. I don't think the journey is still over.
So now I have a question to Ms. Smrithy. What are the factors that helped and hindered your decision in using AAC?
Yeah. So my son Advait is 15-year-old now, and he got the diagnosis at the age of 2.3, and we started the intervention by 2.4 years. When Akila ma'am was telling, it was at that time there was lots of confusion. But luckily, when we came into that path, there was more clear idea about how to move forward. So that immediately we started the intervention programs by 2.4 years.
Mm.
And I started with ABA. So they were letting me to sit inside the classroom. So I was observing how the therapist is working with him. And they told the same principles we have to continue in the home environment.
Also.
Then only the child is going to progress. So communication, he was non-verbal at that time also. He was not able to produce sounds and he was completely non-verbal. So they told to start with gestures, and sign language is something that we started with for communication. And they told how to do it, and then he picked it up so fast because he is a child who is very specific. He need that particular thing only. So because of that, it was easy to work with him because I will get lots of opportunities to work with him in the home environment.
Yeah.
So we started like that. He picked up the gestures fast, and when he is showing the gesture, I was saying the word, and then he picked up the words also, and he started vocalizing. So by seeing him vocalizing within 5 to 6 months, I had no bad opinion about AAC. I realized that yes, this will really help, and the child started talking. But then everyone started focusing into the speech part because he started producing sound.
Speech.
But he had apraxia, verbal apraxia, and when everyone started pushing him to, now you can say, and then he started frustrating and lots of behaviors. He was not entering into the therapy room. Then we had in great trouble. Then we don't know how to move forward. And I was also not trained at that time, so I was not able to understand why all these problems came, how to move forward. And at that time only, I met Dr. Preeja Balan, and she guided me to go to Bubble Center. And like that, I came to that place, and there I saw the picture exchange communication. And I enrolled myself for the special education course. So I started from phase 1 to, and in the school they were doing, but because with the gestures, what I observed in the school environment is he is communicating, but other people are not able to understand. As a mother, I can understand all his expressions, his way of crying. I know now he is hungry, now he has some pain. I can differentiate. But as a mother, I was thinking, in my absence, how he will communicate. If he can't express his needs, his difficulties, how frustrating it will be. So my focus was the social communication skill, how he can how I can build the social communication skill so that my dependency, I can take a back seat and he can communicate and interact with other people. So I was thinking about a communication system where other people can easily understand. So I thought, Pex, okay, if he is interchanging pictures, everyone can understand what he is asking for. Like that, we came into that, and in because I was working at the home environment also, because I think if they are going for a therapy or if they are going for a school, the restricted hours, if it is not going to help the child to generalize it, but home is a place where they are getting lots of opportunities to communicate. So that I worked it out, and and by the end of fourth phase, he has a small file, and we used to keep it in somewhere, or in travel also it will be there with us. So if he needs something, he'll go to that file, he'll open the file, he'll make the sentence, and then he will find a partner, and then he'll communicate with that partner. He started communicating with other places also, with different people also. So that, like that, it was going. And sometimes he was getting frustrated because something is there in his mind, that picture is not there in his file. So one day I saw he was searching through all his alphabet books, and and then I was just observing what he is searching, and at last he found a book with a picture of a dice, and he came with a scissor. At that time he was not able to cut, so he came with a scissor and he was asking me to cut that picture. When I cut it, he took it and he pasted it in his file. After that, he picked it up and he gave it to me. So because he understood that something he is giving from this file, then he'll get that item. So like that, he started communicating, and then I attended a workshop about Avas. So whenever he is using Pexol, so everyone was forcing him. You can say, you are capable of saying, otherwise you can talk. And he was, but by looking into his face, I can see that he's trying his best, but he is unable to join the sounds. And he's really struggling for that. So I stopped forcing into the speech part. I thought if he is communicating like this, I am happy. If he is ready to talk, he can talk. We all are like that. No, if we can talk, of course we will talk. Because if we are unable to do that, and if everyone is forcing, how we can
Yeah.
associate with people in that way? So I was not believing in that way. Even though when I started, I was also. Some parents were asking, if you started this, then the child won't try to talk. So don't do that. But when I introduced, after attending the workshop, I came home. I'm so poor with technology. So I don't know. I just told my husband that this is what I learned today. You just take it and help me. So when I opened the Avas, I saw all the symbols. And then this is not going to work with the do. I want to customize it. So, and he was working for mobile software. So he helped me to customize it according to my ideas. And I presented it to a friend of him. And first time when he pressed that, he got a voice for him. At that moment, he was looking into my eyes and he was expressing that happiness. I got a voice because earlier when he was communicating, everyone was still forcing him. Say the word, you can. Here he got a voice and that expression from his face, from his eyes. From that moment, I decided that I'm going to move forward with this.
Yes.
So, like that, we started our journey with Avas.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, ma'am. So that is really interesting. So, it took a long time, but you were resilient and you was very supportive. Yeah, you were very supportive with his, his imagine, what to say, what his, you respected his thoughts and you gave him that. Yeah, so that is really good. Yeah. Okay, so the next question I have is for Neha ma'am. So how was AAC introduced to you?
Initially, AAC was not introduced or recommended for me from any speech therapist or the special
Okay.
educators. Actually, when Amit was 13 years old, he was struggling with writing actually. When and the speech was not happening, still he was not able to speak one or two words, and he was struggling with writing also. And he was aware of the letters and words. And I was working on his literacy at that time. So I thought that writing was not happening and the speech was not at all developed. So I thought that I should introduce the typing. So when I introduced the typing, I was not aware of the fact that it is in future it is going to be the part of communication.
Communication for him.
When I introduced the typing, it went off with the three-letter words, with the phonic words. I showed the picture, and he started writing the spellings. We worked first on the spellings, three-letter words and four-letter words, picture with words, and then slowly the words turned to the sentences. And when I introduced the sight words, he picked up the sentences and the words very quickly through typing. Then
Okay.
slowly, then I thought that I should use this for the further, for developing his vocabulary. Then I use, along with the typing, I use some communication, comprehension building apps I use for the developing his grammar. Then slowly I introduced the WH questions for him. Like I asked the question, "What is your name?" Then he typed, "My name is Navneet," and "What is your age?" And then with WH questions, the two-way communication started actually. Then I thought that it is the time for use the typing for the basic needs, then I thought that then then the two-way communication started with typing. He also started sharing the emotions also, like what makes you feel sad, what makes you feel happy. Then he used to, I used to ask the questions. He used to answer it through typing. Then when the two-way communication started, I thought that this is the time that I should introduce this typing. I should use this typing as a part of communication, and I should use this as a in a day-to-day activities, day-to-day needs, basic needs. Then this way, the typing became the part of the AAC. Then I introduced the letter this tab for him. Then through tabs, two-way communication started. Uh, like that, our AAC journey started. Through typing, our AAC journey started.
Great, great, great. So, Anuja ma'am, I have another question for you. So, what was the initial response to introducing AAC for your child?
Yeah, so our initial response was apprehension, because earlier we had started with PECs and it failed. Tatvik has sensory processing disorder, so he was always distracted by the material of the PEC card, the PECs card, the Velcro. So we were not able to move forward ahead with that. And earlier when he was 3, 4, we started with Avas too, but there too we were not able to get any progress out of it. And like most parents, we were focused on the speech part, as in we should focus on the speech, and that is the primary means of communication. Let's focus on that. But that too was not getting us anywhere. So actually, the path that we are currently on, we actually stumbled upon it, because Tatvik has a mind-body disconnect. He's not able to correctly direct his body towards where he wants to go. So he has apraxia too. So it's not easy for him to like give him a set of ABCs and ask him to point A. So all the teachers and everyone were under the assumptions that he's not even able to identify his ABCs. How can we move forward to it? So, and that's when we decided that let's just assume that he's got that knowledge and let's help him towards that. And when we moved forward by presuming competence is when he amazed us. Like he was able to make words, he was able to make sentences. So the first step before trying Avas was we tried typing on the notepad in the laptop. Mm-hmm. So that is where he was able to communicate initially. And when he did that, it amazed us all, to be frank. And then we slowly moved on to Avas, wherein he can just touch the tiles and communicate. And now we are working towards typing in the app so that he can communicate. But still, it's not an easy journey with him, because primarily what he wants to do is he wants to use his voice. And from his perspective, he hates typing. That's what he has communicated to us. So every day we have to talk him through with this, to say that it's for you to just channel to flow for your expressions, for whatever is inside you to flow, so that you don't get frustrated. So it is a learning curve for us. So that about sums the experience right now.
I think that's beautifully put. I think because it's not, when we say it, and I think we've got different parents on different parts of the journey. Some who've been here longer, and you have your challenges. It comes with so many things, and like Miss Anuja said right now, it's not easy. And yes, definitely, Miss Minnie, you would like to add in something also.
Yeah, I really want to thank Anuja for bringing the concept of presuming competence. Presuming competence is so important for our children about whom the world thinks that they do not know. And we continue to keep doing the same things, the basic things. And sometimes the behaviors and the frustrations are because of not believing in them. So I'm very grateful to Anuja to bring this into this discussion. Let's move forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I just want to direct the next question to Miss Smrithy. I know, and I think it's still there. We are much better off than a couple of years ago, but there's a lot of fear and a lot of taboo that goes around surrounding using AAC. It comes up with the thing that, okay, you're giving up on your child. We hear it, and I'm sure you would have heard your fair share of it, like you mentioned. So could you tell us, how did you overcome that? What were some things that helped you in that journey?
Actually, as I told, when he was able to communicate and when he got a voice, he was happy. So, as a mother, I believe that first of all, the child should be happy, and then only we will get happy environment, a happy family, and that is more very very important because it is a long journey. It's not for 1 month or 2 months. So it's a long journey, and I believe that I have to accept my child the way how he is.
Yes.
In the initial days, like all other parents, it was very difficult for me to accept. I was not able to believe that he has autism, and I was thinking that autism is something that is too scary, and I don't want that in my life. So initial years, as I told, when I started, I was trying to. Uh, he should start speaking, and then he can go to a normal school, and then everything will be fine. That was my understanding. But when I completed the course, especially the when I learned about sensory processing dysfunction, I was able to understand my child and I was able to understand his needs. Then I started connecting with him properly, and then I stopped the curing things. I was not earlier when we started. So if he's doing this, just start the instruction, clap, 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 just to divert him. After some time, I was thinking, why? If this he gets happy with this, let him do that. If people are looking, I don't care. If so, I start. First thing is, I stop listening to people who are talking about the negative things. My focus is my child should be happy and he should learn all the skills related to his independent life. He should be able to communicate with people. Yes, here it was very easy for me because my husband believes that what I'm doing is right, even though he is busy in his own way and don't call me to do many things. But what you are doing is right, you can do. So there is no problem with him. And my eldest son was 5 to 6 years when I introduced all these things. And he was very curious to know about all these things. And he was asking me, and he was also very interested to work with Advaita because the age group of children is like that. So with us in Bangalore, it was fine. But when we were visiting Kerala, their grandparents and all, the first thing they will come up with this, but still he is not talking. So when he is communicating with them nicely with the device, but still he is not talking. So that was the comment they can. And I was thinking, but he is able to communicate and I'll just leave it because it was not easy to educate them and slowly. Then they'll keep on asking why you are not putting him in a normal school, why you are putting him in special school, all but because they are understand every time we can't expect that people will understand. But I can understand my child and I can direct the way where he is comfortable and where I have to focus. So I was trying to avoid all these negative, and I am not a member in most of the parents group also. And I think all our children are different, and each child has their own skills, their own difficulties. So if we are learning, okay, we are attending a training program, we are learning, but what works with my child may differ from what works with the other child. So if a parent is writing something about, no, this is not good, no, I won't take it in that. I will try it with my son and I'll see if it is working with him. That is good. If it is not working with him, I'll change that approach. So I was not simply following the blind comments. And also now also when I'm working with parents, when I'm suggesting them, I will only suggest. I won't tell that you have to start with. I'll suggest this may help. But sometimes parents will say, no, I don't want to try. Okay, you keep on trying. After 6 to 7 months, they'll come back and tell, ma'am, we will start with this. The other way, it is not working. So when we are giving them opportunities to understand the need of that, then they itself coming back and telling, yeah, we have to move forward. So I think each parent will understand the need of that. Maybe they may take some time by this. So now we all are trying. So now you are also trying by creating this program to spread the awareness that this is something, especially when it comes to autism, our children are struggling with communication and speech and communication. are totally different, and speech is only one form of communication. Now we all are using lots of gestures, expressions. We all are using different forms of communication. Then why we have to focus only into the speech in our children?
Okay. So I have a question to Ms. Neha. So what resources or support systems were most helpful to you in making decision to accept AAC for your child? And how did they assist you in addressing the various factors involved in this decision making?
I always believe and support, the multimodal means of communication. When I introduced typing to Navneet, before that, the communication and the language started with the gestures, speech gesture, I must say, to make him understand the language, I use more gestures for communication. Before typing somewhere, most of the whole day, need-based communication was through gesture. Then the typing I introduced, and it was not so easy then to be done. Actually, when he is facing lot of sensory issues, he is hypersensitive to screening. When I introduced the tab, it was not so easy for him to communicate through the tab. Uh, so I thought that I should switch to the new system. I have to introduce some other mode for communication along with this typing, because he was struggling with the screening. It was very hard for him screening all the day. To take the tab and to express his needs through the tablet. So I thought that I should use, and I got an idea. Everything was my research actually. I got never I got support from any educators or from the speech therapists in this matter. When I used to use the tracing alphabet, wooden alphabet tracing board for his handwriting. That alphabet letter board, I thought that I should use it as a letter board for communication. Then I thought that I should use that. When I used that letter code, somehow it was, I started, somehow the communication began. Uh, in the below of the letters, I made the horizontal line for of pointing on the each letter to frame the words, and he used to point at the space bar, like that. After each pointing, after framing of each words, he used to frame the sentence through that letter board. Some way it started, but still I was not satisfied with the letter board what I used initially. So when I was struggling with that letter board, my son himself came with a good idea. He created his own letter board, how he want according to his need. He told me that, Neha, I want a letter board just like a keyboard layout. He told, just not with the sequence of the letters from A to Z. You know, means the keyboard layout means ASDF. Same the keyboard which we use the computer keyboard. Same like that. I want the letter board design, and along with the numbers 0 to 9 included in that. When I used my tracing alphabet tracing code for communication, there was not there were when he used to mention any numbers, he used to point out point out in the words. Like for example, one, he was expressing something including the number one. He used to express it in the word, ONE1. He used to that. But the numbers was not included in the letter code, what I was using initially. Then he told that I wanted the letter code with the alphabets A to Z, like the keyboard layout, and with the numbers 0 to 9 in that, with the limited punctuations, with the less punctuations, with question mark and full stop, he said. And with the background with the black color, and the letters in the white colors, letters and numbers, so that when I use that letter board in the night time also, it should be comfortable for me to use. Then I introduced the letter board, and we got it done. The letter board according to his wish. Then he was more comfortable with the letter board for the day-to-day communication. I just believe that whole day communication happens whole day. So that using the all the multimodal means of communications worked for me very well. Is working for me very well.
Okay, great, great, great. So,
I think
Akila ma'am, do you want to share something about this question, ma'am?
So the question again for me.
The what resources or support system were most helpful to you in making the decision to accept AAC for your child? And how did
So
they assist you in addressing the various factors involved in this decision making?
So, as I think Neha was pointing out,
Yeah.
I think the greatest decision-making factor is the child himself. There was, first of all, so much of need to communicate. So, like Neha was pointing out, that the inspiration, like Navneet was the one who told her, guided her as to what AAC will be suitable for him or what kind of AAC is required. And Smrithy was talking about how they are already communicating using voice, using gestures, using you know pointing and all that. So both these things put together, it's similar thing even for in my case, where right from the beginning, Nishant's intent to communicate was very clear. So my job as a parent always was, how can I convert that intent into something that is understandable by everybody, just not me. So always that has been one of the push for me, that his intent should be clearer and clearer, uh, and how can it be through in a way that is also independent of me. That has also been a goal. So these two put together, I think that was the pushing factor. Like when I go back to the pecs, he could, at that time in speech therapy, he was going to a very reputed therapy program, and he was told that he can identify 2500 words or pictures. He could read, he was hyperlexic, so he could read so many words in his Montessori school. So if they asked him and point or match picture to it, so all this was, but not functional. He could not say, I want water when he wanted water. So my quest as a parent was to, how can I take what he has and make it functional? So that was the push towards AAC. So there was no barrier in my mind for using AAC at all. There was a push from his side. And similarly, when he could, read so many words, and he could, put together, like even with post-its, those days we didn't have so many resources. So I would even write on post-it and he would make sentences. So I was constantly looking for resources that will make it, technology. I am from a technology background. So I would look for technology which would mimic what we were doing, like Neha was saying. So that's when I came across Clicker, which has grids. So
Yeah.
it has word grids. So one could have the grids and he could just, touch that and make sentences. So so that then that made it independent of me having to write and him having to point and circle and all that. Similarly, we were also using letter charts in his school. He went to an integrated school system till grade 5, and he was very interested in maths and science and lot of these geography related topics. So there was so much he wanted to express, and the letter chart seemed very limited. So but the keyboard was very difficult for him. He'd always go one letter to the left, one letter to the right. I didn't realize at that time that the flat keyboard was difficult for him. So once it came onto an on screen itself, his performance improved. And of course, I did know Shoma, and she was guiding me even before it was called rapid prom method. She was in Bangalore at that time. So she would tell me, reduce the number of alphabets, place it this way. So I got a lot of guidance from her also. And then we went on to using the wooden letter chart, which is what he's most comfortable even today. He is quickest with that because it gives him a tactile feedback. So it is exploring with the child, exploring a lot of options around, like what works for the child, and giving them that method to express, presuming competence, like Anuja said. There was never a doubt in my mind about his competence or his ability to communicate. I don't remember a moment. It was just for me always how do I help him to do this? How do I help him express that? How do I help him? And even now, he unlike many children who spell to communicate or type to communicate, he's not a writer. He's this happy-go-lucky chap. So he writes a little bit about whatever he wants to write, but he is not this author or something, he's not that driven to write. So then we leave it at that. It is not pushed beyond, you know, the requirement. Whatever he needs, he is able to use. So yeah, but I think yes, he in fact of late after age 25 during COVID times expressed that he wants to learn to speak, and he is under the program with Shireen, your own Shireen, and he has learned to say a few words because he's very motivated now with OPT, and he's even learning to sing. So it's never too late.
Okay, great.
Absolutely. I think we agree on that. It's never too late. And if they are motivated, they will do it. I think we always go with that. And I just like you said, ma'am, you were sharing about how our children, we presume that they know how to do it. But there's also this part where a lot of people I know, even professionals, also get stuck. And I would like Miss Anuja to come in here and share her insights where it sometimes gets stuck in the rut of going in a very need-based perspective. And you were sharing before how Tatwik has expressed, I want to speak. Like he's brought in his perspective into that. So, how has that been? How has that journey been where it's gone beyond just the need-based communication and gone into an experience sharing with your child on his perspectives? How has it been for you?
Okay, so for Tatwik, this intent to communicate or wherever he wanted to communicate, even now, he uses our hand to go to that. He's still not there where he takes a device or takes any communication. So that's something that we need to work on. But once if we are sitting down and using the keyboard or the iPad, I see that he engages in this kind of communication on his own. So, and what I found that would help him was modeling. For example, I can use my perspective and share on the avas or while typing and so and say, and then I can wait for him for his input. So suppose if we both went somewhere and had an ice cream. So when once we are back, I would say, remember when we were outside, I had the chocolate ice cream. It was cold but delicious. So initially, I wouldn't get any reaction from him. He would just continue with his stimming or something. But sometimes I can see that when I pause or wait expectantly, he does come in and say, "Yes, me too." Or that's how that when we wait for him, sometimes he shares his perspective. Sometimes he doesn't. So what we focus is that we focus on the fact that we also use that method instead of just being verbal. You can use the voice too. We also use the AAC or while typing as a mode of communication for him, so that he also feels that we also do that. It's not something just he does and we use a voice. Doesn't feel left out in that way. So, and another way thing that I have found helpful is using declaratives, wherein you don't say, okay, tell me, how did you find it? How was that? How does this? Don't bombard him with questions or force him. Because one thing that Tatwik hates is being tested or being questioned too much. He doesn't like that. So that also helped, wherein using declaratives and sharing our perspectives and experiences has actually helped him too.
Yes. I think definitely all of those bringing in all that thing of creating that relationship with him to want to share. I think that plays such a big role in definitely getting in to get their perspectives out. And they actually amazes. I think all the parents said that when they start communicating and sharing, it just amazes us that they actually have so much that they want to share.
True.
So I have another question for Ms. Akila. Ma'am, AAC implementation can be exhausting for everyone involved, which is why it's important to keep it fun, infuse it into existing daily routines, and plan it with flexibility. How do you bring this? How do you bring that balance?
Right. So I think Anuja pointed out a couple of very good strategies like modeling.
Hmm.
So the child is using a gesture to point to something. You can immediately take the ASC and model it for the child, like, like a confirmation. Is this what you wanted to say? Is this what you want to do? So rather than always demanding from the child to use the ASC, at that point you have understood the child's intent, but you can use it as a clarification. So all the time you can have the ASC around. When we started with PEX, I remember my daughter was just very little. She's 5 years younger to Nishan. So she was just 1.5. And then in the evening, we'd have this time where everybody does their homework. I had two other kids I was supporting who were economically weak. So I would work with all of them together. So everyone be doing their homework and then be playing around. So I would encourage everybody to use the thing text pictures to talk to each other, request, and it was called the asking game. So even as my daughter grew older, she'll say, "Oh, let's play the asking game." She never thought it was something different from talking or something like that. It was a game. And then as far as the routines and all go, infusing that into bringing the ASC in there also. For example, things like when I was trying to make him independent, say with bathing and brushing, so we put all those into a folder. It was not just like bathing one picture, but in Avaz it's a folder which has all the items, which has all the steps, and I would sabotage, like, something would go missing. So then he has to then ask for it. So that way I was trying to ensure, besides knowing the steps, besides, being able to be independent, he could also communicate independently if something like my soap is over, or where's my towel, or, my toothpaste needs replacement or something like that. So uh, trying to bring communication into the daily life. Similarly, even if we are playing a game, talking about, how many, counting the dice and saying, "Oh, I got so many points," or, you know, uh, uh, taking it really everywhere. For Nishan, food is his greatest motivator. He's a total foodie. Even when it was just a PEX file, he had a separate file for food. He had two communication books, one for everything else and one for food. So then, in fact, it became so much that I started using only clear folders, and he could point because there was so much food on it. So, you're having all that in there, like people, locations, or restaurants. So even a couple of days ago on Sunday, we were going out. So as we were driving, he was trying to decide, let's go to this place or let's go to that place, and I want to order this. So he was making this whole plan in his head using his avas. So it's not something just for, requesting, or just for, answering questions, or just for responding. It's a part, just like we take our voice everywhere. The voice is there everywhere. The one of the fun things we also tried was like when Alexa came into our house. So everybody could tell Alexa, right? Alexa, play this, or Alexa, and he couldn't. So I have a Alexa tab where he can ask for the time through hours. He can ask Alexa, what's the time? What's the weather? He played it for a little while and then got bored. Now he doesn't use it much, but he could say, Alexa, play Bombay Jayashree. You know, so he also equalizes with the rest of us who are trying to make Alexa do something. So um, it can be brought in everywhere. And of course, in terms of learning and literacy, it plays a very important role. Very often we see. I, at least I work with a lot of parents, and once they are doing a functional level, they're requesting and responding. It's not taken to the next level of literacy, and to work on that aspect also. You can have topical conversations on what they like. You can build around that, pull them into literacy. like I remember I think he was 14 or 15, one summer vacation, he said no studies, no studies at all. But I really wanted to, revise a lot of the concepts that he had learned. So I said, okay, what do you want to talk about? He said pizza. So one whole week we only talked about pizza, but into pizza I brought in nutrition. We talked about nutrition stealthily. We talked about nutritive values, percentages, fractions. So and we used both his avaz, as well as we used his clicker for all this, and um, we typed the whole recipe in PowerPoint. We made a whole slideshow, whatever. So one can always, have that included in all aspects of life, and that is what makes it very natural then for the individual and the people around to use. He uses it now with everybody, even people who are not so-called educated, but are helping him, say with his tasks of cooking. For example, one of his tasks is to do the laundry, and so he has a back and forth with the helper in the house, saying you do this, and she'll go back on the AAC and tell him, no, you do it, you go, carry the bucket upstairs, or you bring a fold the clothes. So she uses the AAC with him, and he is instructing others, and he is negotiating his chores, like wiping the table. He says it's not my chore, and so he'll be requesting, daddy, you wipe the table, you wipe. So he doesn't passing on his chores to others. So you can integrate it in every aspect, according to me, and that is what will make it really functional. And that's why it's important to have all the modalities, to have the, for him, the picture based. People ask, okay, he can type, so why are you still using, say, avaz or something like that? But that is quick. We all use emojis, emoticons. We're not typing all the time, we're using prediction. So why not? Why can't he use it for his communication? So whatever is quickest for him to express.
Absolutely. That beautifully put. I think just involving it everywhere. I think all of us were saying that, and even the simple thing of just communication needs to be fast and effective. Whatever works that way, and we work along with that. And very, very rightly said that people have a lot to say, and people who don't walk in these shoes don't really know. So I just want to ask Miss Anuja, and I know it might be different there, but I'm very sure that there are, and that you would have faced a lot of stigma that comes around, making that decision. And I know Miss Smrithy also covered that. But Mr. Anuja, could you tell us, like, what were some of those cultural stigmas that, and this is in terms of we want to tell parents, because there is a lot of that hinders them from even deciding to move on and use a device for their child. So could you give a brief insight on that?
Yeah, I think so. The main cultural stigma that we have is that once you start on an alternative means of communication, you're going to hinder speech. The speech is never going to come. So I am guilty of thinking that too, because in the early years, when everyone would, or when some of the therapists would suggest, why don't we try something else? But our heart was never in the right place. We would say, then what if he would never speak? So what if we are hindering his speech? It's not what something that we want for children. So I think that is one of the main block that the parents have in their mind. What if the child is never going to speak because we use these methods? And what if the culture, already the society looks down upon children, non-speaking children, as if they don't have anything to say, or as if they are not bright enough. Let me tell you, the situation is not entirely different here in the UK too. Here too, you've got all kinds of people wherein they assume just because a child is not speaking, he has got nothing to say. So the situation is more or less the same everywhere. So I would suggest parents, no, don't think like that, because times I can see that frustration inside him, wherein he is not able to bring it out. Even so, it's a very good idea to start an alternative means of communication early on, even with children who have some kind of speech, because like some of our panelists said, it is very important that we give them a way and not just put the focus on the voice or on the speech. So that is something that I think that there should be more awareness, and hopefully that cultural stigma goes away and parents would bring in and help their children different augmentative ways to help with their communication and not just focus on speech.
Abhishek, would you like to add in something? You're muted.
So even I agree with what you said. Across the world, recently also I read an article which has happened in US where how this person was not allowed to do certain things, or some kind of something that was hindered for this person who was going on, who uses a wheelchair. So I think this is happening across the world. I think this is something we need to work upon to create awareness and to support people who needs that special care. And in terms of AAC also, I would say this is something that I also feel about that. So talking about that, even we know, like apart from that, how was it for you to Smrithy ma'am? I have to ask you this question. So when you started AAC, how supportive was your family?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, no. So my husband believes in me. So what I'm doing is right for him. So that was the support I was getting. So there was no problem regarding when I decided. And as I told, Adu started vocalizing when we started with sign language itself. And at that time when he was 2.7, 2.6 years, at that time, of course, my focus was also speech. So I was very happy with that. So like that only I started. But later on, I realized that no, social communication is very, very important. We all are talking about inclusion and all that things. If first of all, our children should be ready. They should be able to interact. They should be able to communicate how they can express themselves, how they can be ready. Otherwise, they are feeling anxious. They are not ready because they are not confident. So how can I make my child confident? After some, as I told, when I was going to Kerala, everyone was pointing to that. "Oh, still he's not talking, but he is communicating beautifully with them, and they are able to understand." And then I was not worried about after some point, and I started focusing into what he is learning through that. So it started as a voice with the picture communication, and then I moved to the keyboard. And then even when I introduced the keyboard, he was not able to identify a single key from the keyboard, but he was reluctant to writing. And when he completed 8 years also, he was still in the standing line, sleeping line. And I told the teachers that enough of this, I don't want him to continue this. Who is writing nowadays? We all are typing only. I want to focus into typing. But ma'am, he's not able to identify a single alphabet, then how you can teach him? I told, okay, let me work on that. Give me some time. I put it into simple steps and started with that. And at present, he is able to do from the screen or from the paper. And we came a long way with that. But it was not easy. And now, and one day, we were attending the online classes, and all the children in his class are speaking. So they were reading the story. So teacher was giving turns to the children to read the story, and the teacher mentioned that, "Adu, it's not for you. You can take a break." Then he looked at me and he was so unhappy about it. And then I told the teacher, "Adu can also read. You give him the turn." And he was ready. He was waiting in his chair. And when the teacher gave the turn, he started typing in Avas, and then he put the voice also. Like that, he was reading. Then the teacher was also surprised, and the parents was also surprised. I told, don't differentiate him like that. He has a voice. He can use Avas as a voice for him, and he can communicate. So, and then from that, they realized that, okay, he will also do it. Otherwise, people think that speech is the only form. They can only read. How a non-verbal child can read and understand? When I was showing them, he can read and do instruction. How he can read? He is non-verbal. So people thinking that if we can read aloud, then only it is reading. So even with my family members also, that was there. And now they all are realizing that, yes, now he is doing all these things. So I think we have to wait. If we are always fighting with them, and that is not going to help, they may take more time to understand. The bond between a mother and a child is different. See, all mothers, that is what they were discussing. So we know that this is our child, and they are capable, and we can work it out, and we will. But other people can't take like that. So they may take longer time to understand and to come into that. But as a mother, when we are focusing into that, and when we are working, then everyone will come and join with us. That is what happened in our journey. So earlier, people were not ready to believe that if he is not able to talk, then nothing he can't do. That is what their belief. But then slowly we were working on that it was not easy for me to keep positive always when they were putting me lots of negative comments like that. But whenever I was seeing his smiling face, I was again getting up, ready, let's start. So that is the thing helped me to move forward.
I think, ma'am, it is also important to understand that we all need to have that growth mindset when we look at things, because most of the time, even the society also look at things in a fixed mindset, like, oh, this is something he cannot do. But there is
Yeah.
another part, other side of the coin, where we can think, what if he can do more? So that basically is something like the presuming competence. So mindset of especially a growth mindset is an important factor in this. So, and I also want to ask you about the same question, something about family dynamics. How important is family dynamics in this?
Actually, only a mother, or in all the families, if the child got a diagnosis, or if they found something different in the child, all the questions should be to the mother. Why it happened? You are not taking care of the child properly. You are working. You are not giving attention. All these things will come to the mother. And as a primary caretaker, mother should take the responsibility, and all the family members are not bothered. So it is your responsibility to take care of your child, your career, everything you have to take a back seat, and then you have to focus into that. That is what happening in most of the families nowadays also. And then the blaming game will start. Is it why it happened? It is because of this, or it is because of your husband's family will point into the mother's family, and they will point into the other family, and then so very rarely only I saw some families, they are working together and they are telling to the mother that we are here for you to support, and they are really lucky. I was not getting any support like that. So they were always pointing me. I was taking care of only my eldest son. I was not taking care of Adu. I was completely avoiding him. And that is why he became like this. So, and why I did so many questions like that. And I was completely into depression at that time. So I made lots of videos regarding that for awareness to the families, how they can support a mother in that situation. If you are coming and telling that we are here for you, we can do things together, that is enough for that mother to move forward. But most of the time, mothers are the one who was getting. For me also, I started the journey like that only, and I told my husband that I'll take the initiative. I learned, I changed a lot. I am coming from a village in Kerala, and I was studying in ladies hostels and all, and I was not exposed to the world, and it was very difficult for me to come out a city in Bangalore and to interact with the people and to take him for the therapy sessions, attend, and from the maths background doing special education and psychology. It is all because of my son. I achieved all these things, and I presented papers in the national and international level. Everything is because of him only. But when I started taking this initiative, and when I started putting effort, first my elder son joined with me by asking, Amma, how can I help you? I will take videos for you. I will do this. So like that. By seeing that, my husband was always busy with his work, and after coming from office, their job is watching TV and relaxing. So that was the thing going on. But I was not complaining, and I was thinking one day he'll be. And then slowly he also came and told that how can I support you? You people are putting lot of effort. Adi is also doing. How can I support you? So like that, he also joined with me. After that, we started sharing the responsibilities and what he can do. physical activities, taking him for drives, all that things he can do, and the study part I can focus. So that, and whenever earlier, because of all these negative things from the extended family, I used to get lots of depressed. I used to cry a lot. Then he used to tell me that, why you are getting upset with that? I'm supporting you, no, I'm believing in you, what you are doing. So that was enough for me. So I think that is very, very important when a family works together. So it is and love should be the best teaching method. We may be following any techniques, but primarily we should love. And through love, when we are working, then we are not frustrated. And many parents used to ask me that how you can stop working with Addu. Then I was thinking why I should stop. So we all are working ourselves. See, in my 40s, in my 30s, I learned all these things. So I'm learning. So like that, Addu will also learn, and he may need some support from you. But now I can take a back seat. I have to just monitor things are going fine with him. But we have to move forward. And I'm not thinking that because I don't have that frustration, because as a family we are working together. My elder son is writing his 12th board exam. He is going in that way. Adu is doing in this way. I am busy with my work. So everyone is supporting each other, and love. We love Adu more than anything, and we have to. We are not taking it as a responsibility or something like that, and we are moving forward. Family should work together, if there, especially when there is a special need child, when we are sharing the responsibilities, and when the child is getting a happy environment, a happy mother and a happy father, that energy will go to the child also. When we are anxious, that anxiety will pass into our children. When we are happy, when we are settled, our children also will be happy.
Very rightly said, ma'am. I think definitely. And I love how you pointed out that it is not easy. You need support. It's not a one person responsibility to take it on. And I think I would like to ask this to Miss Akila, like, just because there are so many parents, and I do see parents who come in where only, the mother is involved. Or is this something that you would like to tell, especially parents on this journey, like, some support group somewhere where even on this platform, I'm loving how everybody's dynamics, there are so many journeys, but everybody has similar parts that they've gone through, and that is encouraging each other. So that support really matters. So could you share and, tell our viewers also that are there any support groups to help parents to move forward on using an AAC or things like that that you know of?
So in terms of specifically support groups for using AAC, I think except Avaz as a group on Telegram currently, I'm not aware of any other specific groups. Long ago, IICP Kolkata used to have a group, and I think they do have an organization called Indian Institute of Assistive Technology or something like that, to that effect. And you know, but that's not very active in supporting all assistive technology users or AAC users, because when you look at the broad spectrum of disabilities, it is not just for communication. There are technology for other things also. So in that sense, I think there are groups, like broader groups are there, Vidyasagar, IACP, Niche. They're all doing a lot of work in the space of using assistive technology, and in that sense they are reaching out. But formally, I think there is a dearth. There are many small groups. As far as I go personally, any parent who approaches me, I try to support them as much as I can on an individual basis, or in small groups, try to help them to move forward with the AAC implementation. One of the things that I do get a lot of parents who come at age 5, 6, where the child is not speaking, and then they are wondering what to do next. And so at that point, to sit with them and talk about alternatives, to break the myth of AAC, to also empower them to take some of it in their own hands, because not all all professionals are aware or supportive of AAC. That is the unfortunate situation in our country at this point, where even today they are told that no, don't go into that, that speech won't come. or there could be a lot of blame also they face, saying that you didn't work, properly with the child. See, I worked with this child and he has improved so much, and your child has only improved so much. So there's something you are not doing. So they have to deal with not just, like Smrithy was saying, the family dynamics. There is a lot of pressure even from, therapists. So the other thing that I've tried to do in a small way is to, I think I'll just go back in my journey a little bit, where when Nishant was around 6 or 7 is when I realized, like I said, I have to take things into my own hands. And that is the point when I felt I needed the maximum support, not even when the diagnosis happened, but when I realized that I have to do a lot, and this is lifelong, that I have to do a lot. And that's when I sought out the support, say, of my husband. And for him, it took a long time to, it took him almost 5 6 years to come in and support. Now today he's of great support. He's an integral part of Nishant's day to day, routine, and supporting both the children and all that. But it took him a long time. And what really helped the two of us is that we both went in for counseling. We took professional counseling. We thought we needed marriage counseling because we were really pulling each other's hair out at that time. But then the counselor did, guide us that we need individually to work on ourselves, to put the best version of ourselves forward to our children. And we took different journeys in that. I went with a method which is more focused on self work. He worked with, TA based methods, and both of us have our own journeys where we have also now trained to become facilitators. And so we do guide. He does have a dad's group, and I work with mothers through many groups to on their own mental health. Because more than anything, like Smriti was saying, we need to be happy, we need to be centered to be able to help our child. And this is not to do with just AAC, like I've diverted from AAC, but to get to that point to say that somehow, whether by hook or by crook, they say, right? So if AAC is the crook, so be it. I'm going to help my child to communicate.
I would like to add small bit here that PlayStreet also has its own AAC called PlayTalk, and the software is free. It's for Android. And because we were seeing that it's very difficult to parents to start the journey, so we created the Play Talk program. So it's a very structured program which helps the parents to start and continue in the journey. So when we did that, we did create a support group on Google Groups. But then Google discontinued the Google Groups completely, Google Plus or something it was called. And after that, because we were so busy in other things, we could not recreate that support group on any other platform. But we do have a PlayStreet support group on Telegram where we do talk about AAC, but we do talk about a lot of other topics also. So what I wanted to say that there are so many people are doing such kind of support work, is just putting it together for everyone to know and so that they can get help. So I'm sorry I just jumped in because I just thought it might be a good information for people that keep finding such support groups. A lot of good organizations are actually running such support groups.
Absolutely.
So I have a question to Ms. Neha. So when you look at opportunities for the child to communicate, so at this moment, is Navneet getting enough opportunities, like, trying to, help him to communicate with others scenarios?
So communication through typing was not limited only to only for the communication. When I introduced AAC, after few months, I started slowly seeing in him the poetic qualities. After few months, he started writing the poem. Still, I remember the first poem what he wrote. Describing about the jamun. He is also a very foodie, and he described about the jamun in such a way that blending of all his senses, he wrote about the jamun, how it floats in the sugar syrup, and about the texture, how it floats, and the taste. Everything he described about that. So it was not limited only for the communication, and I was really amazed, and for the way, such a way, how he imagined the things and how he is coming out with it. And slowly he speeded me, and he started describing about everything, everything about the food, about the things, and slow. And he wrote first article he wrote was about sharing about his experience of autism, how the sensory challenges he's facing, and just he was in his teenage phase. I thought that when the two-way communication is happening, it is the right time to tell him that he is special, he is diagnosed with autism. I was preparing myself how to tell this, but he came with expressing that I know that I have autism, I'm special, I have autism, but parents are supporting me. Your support is very important, and you are there with me, as you are everything for me. You are a therapist, more than a mother, you are a therapist for me, and you can understand better than anyone else. So I feel so secure that being in spite of dealing with many challenges, I feel secure that you are with me, he told, Then he started slowly. He started writing poems, articles, and I was real day to day. He used to surprise me with his write-ups, So somewhere just like tears came out, If I would have not introduced this AAC, all these hidden qualities, imaginations, all this, the talent would have buried in him. So it just AAC really changed our life, his life, and now he is an author. I feel so proud to introduce myself as a mother of an author now, as well as he.
Absolutely. I think we all see that joy. I think all of us here know that each of your journeys are that, and that's the product. Everything else comes to that your children are able to express and they're able to share that what they want. Miss Smrithy, I would like to ask you, in a nutshell, would you be able to tell us in this entire journey? I know you've had different experiences, but how helpful was it in terms of having professionals, to guide parents? Again, this is also for our viewers to understand how to get the right help. How helpful is it with professionals in guiding parents to use an AAC, or how does it work?
Yes, I got a very nice advice and suggestion from the professionals. Actually, when Adu was, I think, 5 or 6 years at that time, I used to attend speech therapy for him. And at that time, I used to go with the PEX file because I already worked on that because I did the course when he was 4 years at that time. So when I was giving that thing to the speech therapist, she was surprised and she was asking me, "Oh, you already came with the file? You already started using this?" And I told, "Yes, I am using it." Then she was telling me that generally we used to struggle a lot to make the parents understand. And when we are suggesting, they'll say, "No, no, they don't want to use the thing. You focus into the speech. You are a speech therapist. We came here to make the child talk. So you work on the speech part." This is what all the parents used to tell. Like that, she was telling me. I told, "No, I know that that is different." And so I think because I did the course at the right time, that gave me the right information. And thankfully, God gave me that brain to understand. Sometimes I think people are still not ready to believe in that, even though they are getting the information that we all are sharing, but they are not ready to believe in that. But I was believing in that way from that, and they were really helping me to. So till 8 years, when he completed 8 years, I stopped all the therapies. Only I was sending him to the Bubbles school, and all the therapies I started doing. But before that, I was a part of all the therapies, and so I learned how they are putting goals. Because I got trained in special education only, and I was working doing in Bubble. So I learned how to move with special education, and I developed my own ways of teaching strategies and also, but related to speech and OTs and so I learned so many things from the professionals. So I met many professionals who were guiding parents. I think the parent should find people who are guiding parents, not only working with the child at 45 minutes. If that trainer is guiding parent that these are the things we are working, these are the goals we are working, and this is the way you can do in the home environment, and why we are taking these goals, in which way it is helping to your child. So that information they were passing to me, and that really helped me to learn many things. So many sensory integration of therapist. So till 8 years only I was going to the places, but by that I got a clear idea about how these therapies are working and how we can create that environment, because it was not easy to travel in Bangalore from one therapy center to other therapy center. We will be always stuck in the traffic, and then Adu also will get frustrated when he reaches there. He won't cooperate for anything. We will come back. So I understood that if I am depending on them, the progress will be very slow. So if I'm understanding and if I'm doing the same techniques, that will be really helpful. So of course, their professionals are trained experts. So in my when I started the journey, their advice, their suggestions really helped me to understand things in a better way, and then according to my environment, according to my child need, I was able to focus into that. And I was fortunate to get very good support from these professionals. And I think in Bangalore we have many people who are really there are many people who are really training the parents. I think the focus should be the training parents, not only, yes, parents need a break, a school is somewhere, the child should be there at least 3 to 4 hours, and then that, and the remaining child, the quality time when we are getting with the children, that is very important. And they should learn and to interact with other people, to do things with other people. We don't want to make them dependent on us, but by the end of the day, a parent should understand why we are doing this, how to move forward, how to occupy. When the lockdown came, I was not in trouble because I have the clear idea about how he should be occupied. But if we don't have that idea, that type of situations is very difficult to move forward. So yes, they are the trained experts and they can guide us in the right direction, but we have to believe, and we have to accept, we have to understand and then believe. First we have to try to understand. If we are not able to understand, we can ask, ma'am, I was not clear about it, can you please explain me why you are taking this goal and in which way it is going to help. So that type of conversation should be there between the parent and the therapist. At least 10 minutes they have to spend to talk with the parents. And I am also doing, I'm not working with children, I'm not believing online working with children. They are very distracted and the parent is sitting and supporting, but I'm training the parents. I'm giving the program and training the parent how you can work with your child accordingly. So that the parent can work with the child, and the child should go to a school where they can work with other people, other professionals, other methods. Let them interact with that and let them adjust with that, the sensory things, everything. I believe in that way, and luckily we got all that things. And I was so when I joined to Bubble Center when Adu was 3.10 years, and we continued and we shifted to this side of the Bangalore and we continued in the same place, and now they graduated him to their vocational center in last year, and now he is continuing in their vocational center. So that was my experience, and I was happy with all the support all the professionals were providing, and I used to attend the training programs also with them to understand many things. So we have to empower ourselves by taking the training from these people.
So he's glad to know that, ma'am, you got the, correct guidance throughout your journey to, to know where to go. So that is really important. So, and Miss Anuja, I have a question for you. We know that communication need to happen across different scenarios. So when we look at school, how supportive are the teachers?
Um, there is no easy way to answer that, because the support system provided by each individual is as varied as their personalities. For example, back in India, Tatvik was attending a mainstream school with a shadow aide, one-on-one. So how we worked was that the shadow aide would enter the lessons as and when it was taught, and Tatvik can answer it in class. So there were teachers who were ready to wait in the mainstream class for him to answer. There were teachers who would request him to step out of the class because he was disturbing the rest of the class. There were teachers who would drill him down and take dictations every day, and that would really make him anxious. There were teachers who would uh, understand that, yes, he knows that once we covered a portion, and then just move on to the next portion because he is interested in learning that. So I can say that the situation is pretty much the same here too. Here too, we've got teaching assistants who believe in hand over hand and try to make him write or circle or tick, wherein that is not his preferred mode of communication. There are teachers who would assume and take the answer that he gives, and they would understand that, okay, that's what he's trying to communicate. So there is no straightforward answer to that, and I would really request not just the teachers, to everyone to at least respect these children and understand that this is the way. Each child is different. Each child, some may be verbal, some may be speaking, some may have the ability but would still prefer to type or write. So please respect their modes of communication, and please understand that they are intelligent too. Just because they can't communicate doesn't mean that they lack in that area. So I know that is not a straightforward answer to that question, but I really wish that people would be more supportive.
True, ma'am.
I wish every teacher in the world listens to this.
Thank you, ma'am. It's
That's-
really essential because it paints us, and here we are going through an assessment process as a part of EHCP so that they get an admission to a specialist school setting. So it is really heartbreaking for them to assess your child and then demean him just because he's not able to perform on instruction. Okay, show me this. He's not able to show at that moment. So does this mean that he's unable to do that? So it actually pains me as a parent to see my child being judged on all these superficial facts or on these generalized facts that is used to judge children. So I really hope that people understand this fact.
That is the intention to have this summit, and we are going to take your word as far as we can, Anuja.
Thank you.
That's our word to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely, I think very rightly put. And, like Miss Anuja was saying, it's not easy. And I know it does take an impact and a toll on the child also. It does affect them because they are us. They have the same emotions. They have the same feelings. And Miss Akila, can I ask you, how have these barriers actually, you've seen it in your journey with Nishant, like, how has it affected him in using his device, or all these barriers that he comes across with people? How does it affect him as an individual?
It's certainly, I think, till age 10 or 12, he was, I would say, lucky because he went to inclusive environments. Till grade 3, he was in India. He went to, if I may name it, Head Start Montessori initially, and then to Prakriya Green Wisdom School. And then we went abroad for a bit where we were in the US for grade 4, 5. He was in an inclusive setup. He was supported. I could work with the teacher. So there were 3 or 4 of us involved, meaning there was him, there was the teacher, there was an aide, there was me, there were other people, supporting and planning the programs. And so it worked out all very well. But after that, after the primary stage is when, primary school stage, even abroad, the level of supports, the budgets come down. And even if you look at it here in India, our children are maybe not able to perform in an exam oriented or that kind of environment. So after that stage, it becomes difficult to include them in school settings, if I might say so. And our children really want to be there, do whatever the other child is doing. They want to go out, they want to go to school, they want to, be a part of it. And not all special schools are equipped with uh, approaches that are suitable at the child's level. Very often, when they are sent into the special section, even abroad and here, their levels are brought down, and then the child is again very, that's what happened to him, where he got very bored with the content in the special environments, and the expectation itself was very low as to what he needs to do in those environments. And I saw him also socially that time withdrawing, because till then he felt a part of the whole, and then he suddenly felt that he is different, and he went through a phase where it was very difficult. I think from 13, 14 to 18, 19 is a difficult stage for all children, all said and done. But it becomes even more difficult for our children when they realize, because their identity is forming, and they realize that they are not included because of their differences or because of their performance in certain spaces. I saw a bit of a withdrawal then. And that then my job as a parent came to empower him, irrespective of that, to make him feel that, he is unique, and to be, so it was a journey of also his mental well-being, and giving him that entire space to be himself, to express. So at 14 I had worked on 10th NIOS portions, but I never pushed him to write an exam, because I know that would be really tedious on him. His pointing is not that fast. First of all, it is going to take him hours to write a paper. I said fine. He said, I don't want to do academics and I don't want to do exams. So I said, okay, that's when the pizza conversation happened. I said, okay, what do you want to do? So he said, I want to drive cars and be a chef or something like that. So I said, okay, then we'll work towards that. And then he's changed that a lot of times. He's moved into art, into digital art, following the lead of his interest, because many of our typical children also go through such changes in interests in those ages, and not expecting that something he's going to become this or become that, and he's hugely talented, but just following his interest, I would say, and supporting him in that is what helped at that time. And as far as just to add on to what Smrithy and all were saying, if the professionals and the teachers would take an eclectic approach with each child, because each child is not going to progress in the same way, the same things are not going to work out. One, especially on the spectrum, one child is not like the other child. They all have different interests. So even for the communication, maybe for one a very structured approach would help. For another child, following the whatever interest they have, say they are you would have heard the story of this young man in the US where he liked animated Disney movies, and then that brought out his speech, for just saying the dialogues of the Disney movies, bringing it into the day to day, uh, you know uh, you know so responding using those dialogues brought about the speech in the child. So that's a very creative approach that the parent took. So to have that kind of a wide mindset, to say that one to actually be in tune with the child then becomes very important, and to follow the lead of the child and then give all the supports. And that's where obviously maybe some of us here have done that, try to be all that for our child, but it's not possible for every parent to do that, and it becomes very tough. They give up because uh, there are layers to build there, right? It's not just about specs and then just about hours. Then you're building the language, then you're building how the literacy, and then you're building how to bring it into the life skills. So supporting them through all those layers, certainly there's a lot to be done uh, as a community to help parents with that entire journey, handhold them. Smriti has been lucky, she's been in the same school or center for all these years, but that's not the case with all of us. Maybe for whatever reason we've shifted around and not been able to have the same person or the same institution to handhold us. So, how do we navigate all this? So that becomes the question, right? To to go beyond that and to support the child, and uh, how do we then, follow the beat that the child is dancing to, rather than ask the child to follow
Mm.
our beat, our music.
So what you said is completely right, ma'am. Acceptance is a very big factor that we need to spread. So it's I think that is also a barrier. Like, having that acceptance will bring a big change. So another question for Neha, like, when did Navneet realize that AAC is a superpower?
Actually, he took time to realize it is AC was a superpower. When he started communicating, there was so much pain and so much emotions to share with him. He just saw somewhere he was happy that I am I am communicating through typing. He was happy. On the other side, he was in a guilt that I was trying more on his speech, but he was not able to speak words. So that was a guilt he was having first. It took time to come out of this pain actually. Then I motivated him that yes, the first sentence what he expressed his emotions, painful emotion, was why God made me helpless. You're trying more on my speech, but I am helpless. Sorry, Neha. You're trying, but I'm not able to speak. I'm not able to articulate. He told. Then I realized that yes, but God has not made you helpless. God has showed the way. God has shown the way. This alternative way will change our life. The kids who speak, they are not able to communicate properly. They struggle with the communication, but you're not speaking, but you're communicating in a proper way. The communication, and I started training him about the importance of communication. Then he started taking that AAC as a superpower. Then I started slowly, when I started encouraging him for the writings. Then slowly, when his hidden talent came out through the poems and the articles, then he started uh, telling me that some way, I feel that I have a strong interoception. My senses are very strong. He told, I have that superpower. Imagination skills and the unique skill and the thinking, my thinking is very unique. So I can use this for the, for the writing, and I can build the career as a writer. Then slowly he took this AAC as a power. So before ending this answer, just I wanted to, after when I motivated him, the first poem after getting inspired by my talks, he wrote a poem. Just I wanted to dedicate this poem to all the non-speaking kids, from Navneet. So just I wanted to read out one poem for all the non-speaking kids before ending this answer. So the poem is, when our eyes meet together, we don't need talking each other. Our eyes tell us everything, our emotions and feelings. We try to hide our pain, but our eyes catch us on. My eyes read your mind. I am not non-verbal. I talk with my eyes. This is the poem. After convincing him, he wrote that it is very close to my heart, and I dedicate that to all our non-speaking champions kids.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms.
That's
Neha. That was beautiful. And I think that was a good end, I think, when we bring all of this together. And I think as professionals, I think Abhishek, me, and all of us here, we feel so accomplished when, and that's one of our main goals here at PlayStreet, when the parents are empowered, and, like all of you said, when they know what to do, and we can like move back and say, okay, you guys have learned it, go ahead and do it. I think we feel so accomplished that we're like, our job is done. And I think that is something that I see in all of you. And I think even though it's been long, I think everything that all of you have shared is so important and on a journey. And this is like Minnie ma'am also mentioned, this is our hope. And as we spread this, that parents who go through this journey are able to experience and know that there is so much more that their children are able to do. So we just want to thank each and every one of you, Miss Akila, Miss Anuja, Miss Smrithy, and Miss Neha. Thank you so much for taking time. I know you've all had busy schedules, but thank you so much for taking time and being a part of this discussion. And to all our viewers, we really hope that you all will feel inspired, and we really hope to see more children who have these difficulties be able to express themselves. So thank you so much, everybody, and all of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you everyone for joining us today.